Welcome to Who Put This On, Season 4, Episode 29, where we watch Beauty and the Geek, Season 4, Episode 1-ish. We'll get into it. I'm Chris Lorenz.
I'm Harrison Hoffman.
Annabeth.
This is James.
And we got a special guest, Will.
Hello. Seattle
Welcome.
Hopeful here.
Yeah!
Hopeful.
That's
Whoa.
what I
is
like
that
to
great?
hear.
That's great since the last time he's visited.
Yeah. What?
We're trying to convince him to move here, Chris.
Okay.
Get with the program, host.
I'm
Come
lost.
on.
I'm lost.
Once you pod, you can't stop. So this
right.
is the beginning of a long journey of Who Put This On.
We don't have a good record, though, on this because our previous guest spotters have all not moved here yet.
Well,
That's true. A lot of them were not evaluating Seattle, though. They were just visiting.
That's true.
So they weren't trying to move anywhere.
Maybe I'll be the first guest to show up twice. Who
Maybe.
knows?
We'll see.
That's true. I don't think we've had a double guest yet. Don't think so.
Well,
I don't know where Rob is when you need him because Rob would know this.
From Seattle have guests.
That's true. That's kind of like the extended cast.
Yeah. They're the extended
family.
I was listening to the Courtney and Emmy on the last
week.
pod. It was
Yeah,
a good one.
The Thanksgiving pod.
Yeah, the Thanksgiving pod. It was very, very festive.
All right. This is a throwback. So, Harrison, give us a description of this one.
A sure hit show with fun and heart. Beauty and the Geek teams up a group of beautiful girls with a bunch of genius guys in the hopes that one group's strengths will help overcome the other group's weaknesses. That's Beauty and the Geek on the CW.
The CW. We haven't done a CW show before. I don't
Yeah.
think we've ever done one.
I couldn't name
We
another
have to
CW.
go back through the
I can
the
tell you
pod
what I
history.
normally watch on CW. That's a whole lot of Seinfeld.
I thought
That's
you were
true.
going to say nothing. I thought you were literally going to say nothing.
No, man,
You
they got
definitely-
Seinfeld.
You made a left turn there somewhere that
They
I
got
was
a
not
bunch of
expecting.
episodes of The Simpsons.
All right.
It's definitely a syndication network at this point. I feel like they're not putting out a lot of CW
What do you mean they've got
original
all
programming.
those DC shows and those like Archer show? Like they've got like
Oh,
They got Who's Line. Is
is that still running?
That's still running. Would you
Oh
believe
my
it?
God.
yes. Do they have a meaning behind CW? Does it stand for something?
no idea.
Christopher
Cool
Wallace.
watching.
Wow.
No idea.
All right. So let's roll back to the show we're supposed to talk about. So we watched Beauty and the Geek. We started episode 1. Episode 1 starts off with this terrible format where they're like, let's see how we pick the people. And it was fun, but like we really just wanted to get to the show. So we watched like the first like 15 minutes segment and then we moved on. So that's why it's episode 1-ish instead of like a legit episode 1. What are your thoughts on this segment? Like,
I mean, I really haven't seen this kind of segment except in like talent and singing type shows where they're kind of having to audition all these people. Like usually for reality shows, the audition process is just kind of behind the scenes. You don't really get any insight into it. So like, I think from that perspective, it's a little bit interesting to see how they kind of cast this. Like, but they could have probably accomplished basically the same thing, just showing their application videos. I don't know.
so the only other show I've seen this done is Married at First Sight.
Oh, right.
So,
Also, you see the videos on Amazing Race.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes you see
Like
the
to that
videos. Yeah.
Like
Which I think
American
that-
Idol. American Idol does like a whole. There's
sure.
a whole show of the auditions.
well, that's
before
like
they
the
start.
first third of that
Yeah.
whole show is
Those-
them picking.
Yeah.
Versus
Yeah.
a third of the show, like figuring out 2/3 of the show actually figuring out who it is. Like, I don't know. It just seems kind of boring because you already have, like, we'll get to this. You already have so many people on this show to introduce even more people that you like.
That
am I
get
supposed
cut.
Yeah, they just don't even care about it
They
all.
didn't show too many people who got cut though, right? It was mainly like David and like some others showed up that were like on the show right at the beginning.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean,
There's
like,
definitely you have more invested on like American Idol or something, or like
Yeah.
these talent shows where they show you a bunch of people. You actually kind of know them. You see them go through to another round, and the auditions are sort of part of the show because that's a separate competition. And like you see multiple stages of that. But like for this, we see some auditions, and then you're on or you're not.
And the kind of like basic thing with the American Idol, other sort of talent show audition ones, are that they'll show the people who are amazing, and you're like, holy crap, they found this amazing person, and then they'll show like the really terrible ones, and they'll just like tear them up or whatever. But like on this one, you really only have terrible ones, and those are the only people that make it on, because people that are good just aren't interesting and they can't show that. So they really only end up like you said, just showing the people that were the worst and who are gonna make it on the show. There's not that kind of.
I don't know what
it's
you
not that other
mean.
end of it.
I don't know what you mean by the worst.
Well-
I'd say some of these people are the best.
No, sure. But basically, like, based on the qualities that they're looking for, which we get into with the guys, it's basically like the lowest social skills, and then with the women, the lowest intelligence, which, like, they really put a fine point on that.
Like the first hour, which we only saw briefly, was just like a burn show. It was like, hey, this guy's really dumb, doesn't know how to, like, this girl's really dumb. She doesn't know math. She doesn't know how to read. It's like the burn show. We'll get into it more once we get closer to the, like, actual show, because it's still mostly the burn show. So it's like, what was the first hour? What was the whole point of it?
There were some interesting questions that they were like talking. Like, did they ask all the geeks to do the presidents backwards?
Oh yeah.
Was that something
That's a
that they
good
did to
question.
everyone? Is that like the audition? Like, you have to do this to make it on the show?
I think it was more like that guy was like, these are my interesting talents. And one of them was to say the presidents, I know all the presidents. And then maybe they just was like, well, can you nail them backwards? I don't know.
Yeah, I think this is right here. I think this is
Yeah.
totally. There's a producer sheet. There's a bunch of questions they ask, like a bunch of these shows do, where you answer like a 300 question questionnaire, and then they're gonna pick and film stuff and then piece it together and like take those moments that were like, well, we didn't think this guy was gonna do it, but then he did it, and so we got to show it.
We do know that they did ask all of the beauties the same question: who won the Civil War? Which, like, they
Really
showed, like,
good.
they showed 4 or 5 people attempting to answer that question.
Yeah.
One good answer was, we did.
Yeah.
I was like,
That's-
that's correct. We did.
And then she goes, we win all the wars.
Chris, are we allowed to get into minutia yet? Or we
Let's
still,
just do the minutia for this first segment, and then
Okay.
we'll go on to the actual thing. Because I do have some other lines that people have said in this. Was like, it was better to have big boobs and be blonde than not. Life's way more fun, which was really funny by one of the women. Which was she in the show? I don't remember.
Yeah, I think she was the one one of the many in the show who has had a boob enhancement.
One of the many. We'll
There
get
are
into the
many.
minutia of the real show
Yeah.
later.
There was also the standard question of was it name the countries in alphabetical order?
Well, that
as
was
many
in a
as you
later
could?
segment.
That was a later
That
segment.
wasn't
Oh,
an
that was
addition.
later? I thought this was in the.
No.
No, that
thing.
wasn't
Oh,
that
okay,
wasn't
okay.
addition.
Okay,
We'll get
we'll
into
come
that
now.
later.
We'll unpack that later.
There was also a segment where like this woman was like doing dog tricks and making this dog lay down, and she's like, I can make this dog lay down. I can teach a guy to be cool. Like, clearly those are the same
Easy.
skill set. Same easy skill set.
I liked when they asked one woman what the like mascot of the Democratic Party was, and she said Big Bird.
Wow.
That was pretty good. They also said Washington, D.C., known for their beauties. And they were in Boston before.
Yeah.
We didn't get to any other cities. So, like, that was it.
It was important to see the Boston segment.
Important, yeah. We were about to skip this whole thing, to be honest.
Yeah.
Which we'll have to get into that. We'll get into that in a minute, I think. So let's go over what happened in the actual show. So the actual show, they introduce all the guys. The guys show up at this house and like these janky cars.
Smart
Smart
cars.
cars.
They're all smart
Smart
cars.
cars.
I knew there was something about the cars, but I was writing down a bunch of stuff that I like kind of missed part of it. And then they all have cool names, which we'll get into. Then the women come in and they're in like sports cars, right?
Also,
Yeah,
the
they were
women
in,
were
like-
not driving their own cars. I don't know if you noticed that.
Oh,
I
They
didn't
had
notice.
specific drivers driving the convertibles.
They were definitely like convertible Chryslers or something.
Yeah,
like-
they were like considerably cooler cars. They all get introduced. They all get told that they're all playing for $250,000. The winner of the competition, which still, again, not really clear what that is.
no.
I mean, in these first episodes, sometimes the first episode of a show, you don't really get the meat of what is going to actually happen, and this was definitely one of those.
Yeah. So then they go into a skill test. So the guys have to do some sort of social skill test.
Well, no, first they introduce themselves
Oh, yes, you're
to
right.
the others. All the men have to individually go in and introduce themselves to a room of women and vice
You're right.
versa.
And then the women have to do the men.
And then there's a sleepover.
There's a sleepover. I
You're
can't
missing
believe-
some.
I can't believe I didn't write this. I didn't write it down. I can't believe I didn't write it down. You're right. They do a sleepover where they put like these tents in the backyard of the mansion.
We meant to say cabana.
And they all have to sleep in these tents, cabanas.
With
That-
champagne and hot tubs.
And one of the men shared one of the tents with some of the ladies instead of a clear split.
That's true. Very interesting. We'll have to get into that. Then they do a skill test. We'll get into the skill tests, but the women have to do some sort of intellectual skill test, and the men have to do a social skill test.
The most buck wild social skill test.
It's brutal. It's
And
There's a lot to
insane.
get to in that one.
Then the two lowest people get the chance to pick all the teams. They pick all 9 couples, which was pretty nuts for a show.
They
like
handed
this.
way too much power to those two
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
That
We got that.
gotta-
We're gonna have
Huge
to unpack
advantage.
that. And then the end, they introduce a 10th couple.
Surprise couple.
Surprise!
Couple.
Where a guy is the beauty and a girl is the geek.
So innovative.
So innovative.
Can it be real?
So 20 or 2005.
Can
whenever
women
this-
be geeks? Can men be beauties?
so unreal? Yeah. So then they have like a 4-minute segment about what's coming on next, and that's it.
Chris, would you say you're tantalized?
I'm tantalized.
I want to get that soundbite.
Oh yeah.
That's never getting deleted. Chris, how are you feeling?
Well, good thing I have the audio. So we'll see.
oh man, the
It's all
host is really
spliced-
swinging his
It's
power
all
around.
spliced
The
together.
internet's gonna have the audio in a second.
All right. So now we get to the minutia. Somebody hit the minutia button.
All right, so maybe we should talk about maybe their intros to each other. 'cause
Well, I
there was
think
a lot of good
the
stuff
most
there.
important minutia we need to get into, which is mainly real life minutia.
Oh yeah.
Annabeth, can you tell us why we did this show and this season of Beauty and
Yeah.
the Geek?
Well, Will and I in Boston together, we would every Monday.
Every
it was
Monday.
Monday. Every Monday we would go to game night at Aeronaut Brewery in Somerville, and we would play many board games with a man named David. David is on this show.
Yes.
That is. So I
Shocker.
have a very big question for you. So you heard he was on the show at some point in time,
Yes.
and you didn't immediately stop what you were doing and watch the season he was on.
Can't believe it.
I also can't believe this. It's like I was what? This show was aired in 2007, and you've known this gentleman how long?
For a couple years.
Couple of years.
Well, so we'd known him for quite a while when this news dropped. When he
Like-
revealed somehow at some point. Like I have no
This
idea
isn't
we're
new
talking
info.
about.
Right? Like you've known this for
No,
years.
no, no. I think he
No,
said
no.
It
I'm
is
saying
new
we'd
info.
known him for
We
quite a
hadn't-
while. Like this wasn't like the first thing we knew about him. We'd like known him as a
Ah.
person for a long time before we knew.
For like at least a year. And then
He was
like,
a star.
Then later he was just like, oh yeah, by the way.
I have
was
no
on a
idea how it
TV
came
show. It aired on the CW.
I remember we were like waiting for like a very long game to start, required some preparation. I was sitting next to David and we started like somehow this came up and I asked him rapid fire many questions and then the game started and I couldn't believe it because I did not want to play the game. This is incredible news.
You're like, yeah. Let's go back to this
But
though.
back to this house you lived in with 9 beautiful women
This was-
and 1 beautiful man.
this was incredible news, but I still didn't watch the show.
I don't know. I just like it never really. I guess it kind of felt weird to do it alone to watch this thing about someone I actually knew. Like I think Will and I would have had to do it together.
Or
Absolutely.
you invite him.
He would have definitely.
He definitely could have given a lot of commentary. I would have
For
loved
sure.
to watch the show with somebody actually that was in the show.
I did
Be
talk to him
great.
about it a little bit. He did not want to watch himself on TV. again.
Yeah, I feel like he probably doesn't want to relive this 1,000
I can
times.
only-
and now with like your
Imagine.
new friends and just be watching. I'm like, I don't know. Yeah.
Well, it's like
I wonder how many times he's seen it.
probably once. I don't imagine he's going back. It's also been
Yeah.
like a decade later. I think he's got enough time where he could make fun of himself a little bit, but
Sure. I mean, I feel like if I was on this, I'd probably watch it once and then be pretty cool since
Well, you
I
watch it as
remember what happened.
You watch it as it airs,
Yeah.
so you know what's gonna what made you look like an idiot or not, because you have to.
Yeah.
But after that, I don't think you'd watch it again.
Yeah.
Unless you have friends. They're like,
I
hey.
think that'd be more awkward though. I wouldn't want to watch it if I watched it again. I don't think I'd want to watch it with other people.
No way.
That'd be so uncomfortable. That's what I think about when people like on The Bachelor have these like Bachelor viewing parties. Like, it'd be so uncomfortable to be in a room full of people watching you like go on this date. Like, ugh.
I also feel like that's why Dave didn't like bring it up earlier when we met him. He's like, I don't know if I want people to go watch me in 2007 be on this weird show.
I agree with you that this is not the best show for you to be like, oh, I was on the show and I'm like a geek making like all these weird mistakes that I don't make anymore. I get it. I understand why you'd probably not want to like announce that you were on the show or want to watch it again.
Yeah.
I get
I mean,
it.
also like just like not just like he's changed a lot. The world has changed a lot, and like now this show feels really out of date. Like, you know, I don't know if it'd be the first fact I would tell everyone. It's kind of different than being like, I was on an episode of Jeopardy. Watched it
I don't
anytime.
think I'd say I was like the first thing I would say to anyone
Sure,
would be that
sure.
I'm on any show. But if it comes up, like I think this is very normal if you're on a show.
Yeah.
Unless you were like an influencer, like I was on The Bachelor, follow me on Instagram, you know, like whatever.
Right. I was on Beauty and the Geek.
Yeah.
Now I'm selling beauty
Yeah,
stuff.
whatever.
500,000 followers.
This is one of those like team building exercises, you know, where it's going around. It's like, all right, you know, two truths and a
Yeah.
lie, or like what surprises you, blah blah blah, whatever. This is totally one of those things.
I do have a question.
I mean, maybe not. Like, I don't know if you want to tell your coworkers you want Beauty and the Geek.
No.
or something.
I like you definitely wouldn't want it to come up and be that like sort of a framing fact about you.
Right. That's true.
You want them
And
to know
second
you
thought.
as a person first, maybe.
I can't imagine his coworkers as the show was like airing, and they were absolutely watching.
Definitely.
This.
You
There's
have
Well,
no
no
that's
way they were not
that's the
watching this.
difference, though. I think like if we had known him before it aired, we'd definitely be watching it as it came out or something. But like I think knowing him like so many years later, there was less urgency to like I need to watch this show that this guy is on.
I have two questions.
Okay.
Here. Does he still LARP?
I am not sure, but I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised either, but he
He
did
probably
not,
does.
I have not heard him speak about LARPing.
Number two, is he still single?
Don't know.
No idea. I know he has dated people, so it's like,
Okay. Well, I mean, like, you know,
yeah.
you hope that the show
Yeah,
helped him to a
he
point.
Has changed.
Okay.
He has changed. He is not the David that you see on TV.
Okay.
I did ask him in my mini questions about the show if there was a love story, and he said yes, but a tragic one. He was like something of that nature, and I said, "Whoa!" And then that game started.
Oh my gosh. Okay, can we get into this now?
Yeah.
How is this not a dating show?
Yeah.
Teeing this thing up the whole time. The first hour, they're pumping me full of this. I'm like, oh, here we go. It's love month again.
100%.
And then they're just like, nah, just kidding. It's not a love show at all. It's
Well-
some kind of teamwork show about
It's a show
something.
about becoming a more complete person.
I can't believe it's not a dating show.
Who's the thing
I
is,
can't believe it.
you can easily set some guys up to be on the show if it's a dating show. What women are going to sign up for this?
But you're assuming there that like everyone is super, you know, like just like looking for the looks, and like there's more to people than that, Chris.
Yeah, there are, but that's just not what the show is going for.
I mean, also, you're underestimating the people just want to be on TV aspect of all this stuff.
The
Like,
Hooters girl definitely just wants to be on TV, Chris. She doesn't care what the show is.
for sure.
Well, when she has to sign up to date like an ugly guy, like I don't think he's gonna do there. She's gonna sign up for that.
But like obviously, as we know, this show is gonna have a makeover segment, so like it's gonna be fine.
As one of the women says, there could be a diamond in the rust.
Exactly.
Hey.
But, I mean, like they really, I mean, they're teeing it up. They're you know, hey guys, how are you gonna feel about being surrounded by all these beautiful women, and like they're getting in hot tubs together and they're getting in beds together, and like they're definitely teeing up this. There's definitely a romantic situation happening.
But
I
they don't
mean-
like if this was going to be a romantic show, you wouldn't partner each other off
Yeah.
right away.
For sure.
There'd be dates.
I think that's how you do it. You partner everyone off, and that's the date, and then you see how it
And
goes.
you
That
and
was,
you
gotta
shop
that,
date
was,
around.
that was the first sleepover night. That was your one chance.
Exactly. And then you change it up or like whatever.
Yeah.
And whoever is just like not getting along with
But
anybody
like
gets
this is
out of there.
that's a totally different show.
Oh, it definitely
this show
is.
about personal growth.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. They teed it up for like the first hour of like, oh, it's going to be this like interesting like dating show. Then it's not the case.
It's definitely like we went left. We took the straight. And James is like, well, we can make this right here. And we could, just date these people and see how that works.
Well, I mean, they said they have all these testimonials also with these dudes being like, hey, I want to, some of them being like, hey, like I want to be paired up with this girl because like, she's rubbing my shoulders or because like she's really hot or whatever. And like people are like picking based on physical attraction.
I
Some
don't
of
think
them.
any of the guys said I want to be paired up because she's really hot.
Maybe not those words specifically, but like definitely, some of those guys were attracted to these
You-
girls.
Oh,
and that's why you wanna be
definitely,
with them.
definitely.
You could see it in their eyes.
Yeah.
There was a very formative scene in a cabana that we should probably discuss when we talk about seeing it
All
in their
right,
eyes.
let's start
Oh.
introducing. We introduced Dave. We know Dave. He's the LARPer person in the show. So when you're watching it, he's the LARPer.
I feel like we really throw this LARPing term around, which I still have to remind myself. But live action role
role
play.
playing.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, this is not assumed everyone knows this, Chris. It's not.
I just assume everyone knows what a LARPer is.
This is a
not
podcast
thing.
for the geeks.
I don't know. This is a reality TV show podcast.
It's true.
So
How many LARPers
Beauty's
do you,
also welcome.
do you think LARPers listen to a lot of podcasts
Yes.
about LARPing?
about reality TV?
Well, we
About
should
reality TV, maybe not.
tweet
I'm
at
just
us.
saying.
Let us know.
I have no idea, but it feels like a lot of people don't know this.
tweet
Tweet
if
at
you're a LARPer or a beauty.
Tweet at us.
Hashtag LARPer, hashtag beauty.
So we've got John. He goes to MIT. His talent was juggling. He's the first guy. We've got Will, software engineer. He was wearing like 8 shirts.
Not to be confused with me, Will, also software engineer.
This
Not-
Will is not wearing 8 shirts. It looks like a normal 1 shirt.
His talent was he composes filk music. Annabeth, can you tell us what filk music was?
It was something about, I can't remember the genre, but I think he described it as something inspired by fantasy.
Yeah, it was
In
sort of.
sci-fi. There's some kind of sci-fi in there.
Is that a real,
I have no idea.
And
is
folk
it a real word?
Was it folk in like sci-fi and something?
So he sang us a song and it sounded sort of like a ballad about
It sounded like an
himself.
Aladdin song, but with different words about
A
computer
chant.
parts.
Yeah,
Right,
It was really weird. It was like the weirdest thing in the audition, and like this like weird segment where they were introing each other to the other gender.
And this is, so like all these guys are coming out and doing these things. There's this one woman in the room that every time a guy comes in, she makes a face of disgust and horror. And when this dude started singing, it cut to her face and it was like, she could not handle
She's
it.
so judgy.
She was so alarmed by what was happening.
Everyone. She was judging everyone. So that is Shay, and she throws a lot of shade.
Well, we haven't got into the women yet.
we just
Yeah,
did.
the reactions.
Yeah.
Well, this is definitely how we first met her. Was
Oh,
just
yeah.
her shade at these men. Like all the other women
Well-
were like pretty like accepting, open to what was happening, and Shay was
Oh,
just
yeah.
sitting there like, oh no.
Making all of the craziest faces.
Then she says to this guy because he's like, "Hey, I'm singing this fantasy music, whatever." She's like, "So, do you like fantasy? Do you want to live in like a fantasy world?" He's like, "Yeah, sometimes I think maybe I do want to live in a fantasy world. It'd be like pretty interesting." And she's like, "What? You want to live in a fantasy world, not the real world? What are you dumb? Like whatever." It's just like it was so crazy.
And like, doesn't she have a testimonial? Sorry, we're way into minutia here on Shay, but rightly so, I think. Because then in the testimonial, she's like, "Why would anybody want to live in a fantasy world when you have the real world? Like, just look around. It's everything. Why would you want more than this?"
She was still fuming about it hours later during that testimonial.
Yeah, the one great thing about the show, another tangent, is that the reaction shots of all of these people as crazy stuff's happening are so good.
So
There's
good.
definitely like, like the hot girl like puts her butt up to do something, and you see these guys like give these like weird side glances, and you're just like, Yeah, that was great. They should definitely do that all the time. And like the shade shots, great.
Really
all
good.
the time. Happens all the time in the show. The camera work is great.
Great comedic timing on
yeah.
the editing.
Our buddy David has some amazing reaction shots.
Especially when the women are coming in and starting to introduce themselves. He's like, okay. Well, I think the Hooters girl is like, yeah, I want to be a Hooters girl. He's just like,
Interesting. Interesting. I love when Dave says interesting. All right, so then we've got Josh. He's the rubber band guy,
President of the Rubber Band Club at his college.
which I'm not sure if it was a Ivy League college or not. I don't
Not sure.
remember.
All I remember is the rubber band.
he is just the president.
Will,
But it wasn't
that.
MIT.
Will, what did he do with the rubber band?
Oh, yeah. He had one of the girls come stand up, put a cup on her head, face him, and he shot a rubber band at her from 10 feet,
Oh, at least
15,
Oh my
across
God.
the room.
Yeah.
and also nailed it.
Yeah.
No wonder he's the
That
president.
cup flew off that girl's head too. I mean, like this was a shooting.
It was
of
not a
rubber
small
band.
rubber band either. That
Oh,
was a
no.
thick rubber band.
He also stretched it like to his elbow. Like it was amazing.
Then we got Jesse. I wrote lives with parents and he's a software engineer. This is. I don't believe this was the guy that actually had his mom call.
No,
but
that was
somebody
the other guy.
else.
This was the guy who came in and said he was a software engineer, and that woman Jasmine was like, "So does that mean like with a computer?" And he said, "Yes."
Then we've got Luke. He's a robotics engineer. He comes in with a robot. And they're like, can you make a robotic woman? And he like does not answer that question well at all.
What
Like,
did that robot do that he came in with?
Nothing.
was
He
like
just
a
like-
He
robot
just
car.
tinkering with it. in his hand.
It was one of those Lego Mindstorms robot cars.
Definitely was.
100%.
There was something about like the women asked him like about building the woman robot, and he sort of answers something to the effect of that like he thinks it would be simple.
No,
and
no,
I think he gets misinterpreted where he was sort of describing like, oh, robots are simple for him to like build, but like the design of a woman robot would be a challenge or something. I don't know. He kind of
That's
danced
what
around.
he wanted to convey.
Yeah.
The producers and the editing definitely made it seem like he didn't say that at all.
What
I don't know what
Also,
he
the woman's reactions did not make it seem like that.
I agree. I also agree with that, but like that's what I said. Like he tried to answer that question and did not go well.
I think something to the effect of "women are simple" is what ended up coming out of his mouth, which is not that great. Not a
Definitely
great
not.
first impression.
This whole segment was definitely about like, yeah, these guys don't know how to talk to anyone, really.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
People are losing it. Like people are very uncomfortable, pretty nervous.
So
don't quite
nervous.
know what
Some
to
of
do.
these guys come in just like physically shaking and like
yeah.
cannot speak.
So
Yeah.
we've got Joshua next. He's astrophysics. This is the guy that had his mom. He called his mom, and he's like, I don't like sell myself well, so I usually call my mom to do it. And then his mom is on the phone, and you could hear the mom. And the mom was just like, yeah, he pays attention and stuff. He does this and stuff. And I was just like,
He's good at
"She's-
analyzing things.
She's not selling you well. This
He's
is the
a
worst.
fast learner.
This is the worst sell.
Mom just on speakerphone,
Yeah.
and it's
And it's like a flip phone. It is nuts.
Do you think he's ever done this in any other situation? Like I feel like it's happened before.
I don't know. I can't imagine.
Also, the intro was just like everyone else had some sort of talent, and he just came in and he's like, yeah, so I'm like smart and like I do things, and here's my mom to help tell me more.
Well,
Yeah, well, he didn't have a talent.
He didn't have
well,
a
we have,
talent.
we have to get to the women part in this, but like a lot of the women didn't have any talents.
Yeah,
we didn't see
that's
any.
true.
That's
It is very
true.
That's true.
So like this is we saw a lot of the guy talents. But we didn't see like one woman talent. I think which
The
we'll get into.
massage was like one of the better ones, and that was just because she was actually a masseuse and could
That was
give a
just-
proper
There
massage.
there was
job.
massage, there was cheerleader, there was Betty
Oh.
Boop.
Oh yeah, the Betty
Yeah.
Boop
Well, there's
boys.
one. I got one.
We'll go through him.
We'll
We'll
go
go through him.
We got next person. We got William. He did those like demo stick things.
Oh, like
yeah.
a baton thing.
Yeah, the devil sticks.
The devil
Yeah.
sticks. He did it so badly.
It's
And
like he's never used
He was
them
very
before.
nervous as well.
Yeah,
he was, like,
he
shaking.
was way too nervous to do that. And then we've got Tony, which he ties a bow tie.
That was
Oh, yeah.
cute,
That was-
though. I think that was one of the better ones.
Fan
Yeah.
of Tony.
I think the women are into Tony.
Did we talk
Definitely.
about David?
We
Who
didn't really
LARPed?
talk about David.
David came out and LARPed. He brought some swords and he fought a woman. That was also a
And
good
he
one.
lost because she had a longer sword.
Yeah.
And he
That
had
was so good.
He had that big intro too, like the role kind of playing intro where he's like, "Oh, but actually, I'm just David," or like whatever.
Yeah.
that was kind of cool.
Yeah,
I
well,
mean, comparatively, like this, I
No,
thought
for
he was
sure.
pretty good.
He was like not nervous.
Yeah,
He like came off very well, I thought.
the role playing thing definitely seems like that helps, like with the confidence, like projection stuff.
Yeah.
but we had talked so long. I was like, Dave's the LARPer. We're moving on to the next. We didn't talk about that. It wasn't meant to talk about this segment at the same time, but it's kind of working out that way. Mainly because I have my notes and I don't have them separated between like their intros and like their
And other stuff.
other segments.
The minutia is out. Now we're into the host minutia of the note taking process.
Here's the production.
hey, you can start your own podcast if you don't want the minutia about
this
the
is
minutia.
the podcast within the podcast.
This is where we peel back the curtain.
All right.
on
So
in.
we got women now. So we've got we have Amanda. She wants to be a Playboy centerfold, and her boobs cost $8,000.
Is this the woman who considers that an investment? I forget which one that was.
I have that
Okay.
down. Different
Okay.
person.
That's coming up. No
Thank
spoiler.
you.
Coming in.
Different person. Different
No
person.
spoilers.
Yeah. So we have no idea what her talent was. I don't know. Not important.
idea.
So we've got Natalie.
I think that was it. I think she like Playboy. All right, moving on.
I don't know. We've got Natalie. She's the Hooters girl.
Ultimate Hooters girl.
Ultimate Hooters girl.
She's
She's
in a
a-
lot of Hooters merchandise.
She's
a
in
lot.
the calendar.
The mouse pad.
The
Commercial.
cards.
Playing cards.
So she actually had a talent, and she ties a cherry with her tongue, which
Not in cherry stem with her tongue.
yeah. So there's a lot of implications that people were confused about implied in the show, which they didn't really say what they were implying. So
Nobody knows what that means.
No
But
one
again,
knows.
if it was a dating show, that would have been a conversation starter.
Then we have Holly. She works at Universal Studios as Betty Boop. That was her talent.
Well, she
She
did
did
the
the
voice.
voice.
Yeah, that's her talent.
James,
Is her job.
can you do the voice?
Not even. I have no idea.
Harrison.
I don't even remember what she said.
Will.
I don't remember.
Oh my God. Chris.
You're up.
I remember.
I'm
I just
up.
can't
I'm
do
out.
it.
Boop, boop, ba-doop.
That's pretty close. So
I can't get as
the
high
effort.
as she got really. Boop, boop, ba-doop.
Oh yeah, no, she was really up there.
So then we have Rebecca. She was a waitress and she was learning massage therapy. So she does the massage thing.
She says, "Who wants a massage?" And one man's hand shoots up.
Skyrockets.
Obviously.
Who was it?
It was the astrophysicist.
The astrophysicist.
Right?
Josh?
No.
Josh.
No.
Josh.
No, it was another
It was
guy.
the tall with the hair.
he,
Yeah,
has,
it's the guy-
he has the odd-shaped hair.
Yeah,
That's
the
this
odd
guy.
shaped
Yeah.
hair.
He's the guy who looks like he's been touching one of those static balls and his hair is standing straight up.
Yes.
Yes, that's accurate.
Then we have Shay, which we already talked about.
Shade.
She is a beauty pageant person. Was her
And master
tagline.
shade thrower.
We call her Shady Shay.
Shady Shay.
Then we have Jen, the cigar model.
Who
What
can
is
bench
a
lot.
cigar model?
Don't look at me, dude. I have
Anyone
no idea.
have anything on that?
All I can think of is the Seinfeld episode with the hand model. That's all I'm thinking of.
You're not
Yeah.
even thinking about this Indian store cigar. This cigar store Indian.
She was a model for the cigar store
Store
Indian.
Indian, yeah.
Okay, I got it now.
I could only think of when I heard it was like the people that you would see like in a casino, like carrying the cigar trays around, like cigars for sale.
Ooh.
But I don't know if that's a cigar model because that's more like a cigar salesperson. So
I
I don't know,
like
but that's all I
that.
could think of though.
Yeah, she goes to trade shows, cigar trade shows, and just stands by the cigars.
All right.
Then we've got Erin. She was a beautician. That's all I got. Down for.
No talents.
Was she the one who cuts hair? Maybe.
Yeah, the beautician is somebody
Right.
that cuts hair.
Okay.
She
Because I
asked
remember,
all,
yeah.
Well, she asked all of the guys if they've ever been to a salon, and they all looked very confused.
And then this was another good camera work where it cut between all the worst haircuts on the guys, and they had a lot to choose from.
And then it ended with the dude who lives with his parents saying, "My mom cuts my hair."
And then she just kind of smiles.
Then we've got Katie. This is the sorority girl where she got an investment of boob job because all the free beer she'll get because she now has bigger boobs. She'll make up for the investment of the boob job.
She said she did the math, I think.
Well,
Later.
Hey, I didn't say the math was correct. I just said that
But-
she said she did the math, and it's considered an investment.
It's a good investment.
in her future.
That's what she said. I'm just telling you what she said.
So then we have last Jasmine. I have a babysitter and cheerleader. So
Wasn't
she's-
she also the snowboarder?
Yes, she was.
Right.
So this person is the person that did her talent was cheering,
Yeah.
which Dave was not a fan.
You could see as soon as she started, basically as soon as she came in the room and started speaking, the camera cuts to Dave, and you can tell he's not about this.
He was visibly like angry that it was
And then
happening in
as
front
it
of him.
goes on, he gets more and more upset, and then it cuts to a testimonial of him being like, of all the women, I would not want to be partnered with Jasmine.
Which I don't believe he was.
No, he was.
Oh, he was? Oh,
Yeah,
yeah. I wrote
yeah.
that down. I wrote that down. I was looking for it. God, give me a break. Trying to talk
That was in
and
a
look
different
and read.
section of the notes of the
That's
host notes.
definitely
on
a different
you know.
section of the notes.
But yeah, he gets paired with her.
Yeah.
We'll talk
Which
about the
we need to-
pairing.
We got to talk about the
Yeah.
pairing when we get there.
Seems a little
So, like,
dubious.
They won $250,000. So is that split between the two of them? So they both won $125,000.
I
Can
think
one
so.
screw the other
Correct.
one over and take all the money
50
challenge style?
50% of that goes to taxes. So like, you're not really winning a whole lot of money here.
It's a good little bit, though.
I mean, it's probably better than your normal, everyone's normal paycheck there. But
I don't know. I mean, I can't imagine the like astrophysicist is gonna like make okay bank.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I would think.
I'm yeah,
Some of
I mean,
these guys are set up for some good careers.
Right, like we're talking about like
Just-
dudes that are like fifth, 6 years of like MIT and like high end
it is
schools.
interesting. So what takes like 2-3 weeks to film the show? Like how long does it take to
I
film
think it
the
was
show?
longer. I know
it
I
was a
definitely
while.
asked him about this. It was definitely like several weeks.
We definitely
he was
need
there for a little bit.
We need to interview Dave just so we can get
a lot of
an-
questions.
we need the production schedule.
Oh,
we
yeah.
need to know. We
Yeah.
need like there must be some book out there like reality show production schedule so we can use that knowledge so we can stop speculating as much.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. We've been doing 4 seasons of this podcast. I've done zero outside research on the production process of reality TV shows, but I theorize about it every week on this podcast.
every week
How is the most efficient way?
we gotta figure that out.
I can't believe we haven't done like a who put this on production of like some kind of reality show at this point. We've seen so much garbage. like you think we could like just dream something and it would just poop itself out. But
That's our future careers. Reality
so
show
this is the
producers.
pre-work.
This is all the pre-work.
Right, we're building a
Homework.
base. We're seeing
You have
what
to get your
works.
10,000 hours in before you can make a masterpiece like this.
It's true.
Well, no, we'll just be really good at talking about it. We're just gonna be good.
Oh no.
We're gonna be the Terrace House podcast within a show. We'll
Which
be
is
ready.
perfect.
It's still nuts that Terrace House is the only show that does that.
It's
It's
such
so-
a good
it's so
format.
good.
Brilliant.
So
Incredible.
next we have the skill test. So after all the
What
people,
about the sleepover?
so what happens when I don't
Sleepover
write it
is
down?
very
It's
important.
okay. It's okay. I got you though.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
got you.
What's important about this sleepover?
Well, so the way they tee it up is they tell the host tells the women that there's going to be a sleepover, and for some reason only tells the women and says, "You guys get to tell the men." So the women go out to the backyard. They know what's going on. The men are set loose and wandering into the backyard. One man says, "I'm very scared." They don't know what's happening. The beauties kind of tell them. Then they're all drinking wine. We see that David is wearing duct tape on his belt. Really good. Then there's a hot tub time, which is pretty cool. We have some good shots of the women surrounding men in the hot tub and the men looking very alarmed.
Also, the woman cutaway testimonials of them being absolutely disgusted by all the men. in
They're
the
like,
tub.
there's stomachs and hair. What?
Yeah, they
Just-
called 2 fellas out for their back hairs by name.
They gotta shave that.
A lot
Like,
of judging going on.
Is
in
that
tub.
a thing? Is back hair that disgusting that you have to get shave it off? Does anyone here shave their back hair? Will?
Wow, on the spot.
How do bus days?
We were just talking about name calling.
Yeah, Chris really knows how to make the guests feel welcome. Is this why no guest has come back?
It's possible. It's possible.
It's our new format. We just roast the
Will.
guests.
What about your back hair?
How's your back hair
Will,
doing?
how would you have done on the show? Who do you want to be on the show?
I would have done great on this show.
You think
I would
so?
not have been on this show. They wouldn't have taken me.
Which
Will
women
is-
do you want as your partner?
Will is both a
Which
beauty
woman
and
do
a
I want
geek.
as my partner? I don't know.
Would you be the beauty or the geek?
I would be the beauty, the male beauty.
Oh, we gotta get to this. Oh, when are we getting to the? Oh man, it was the last like 2 minutes, but it was a hell of a
We'll get
bombshell.
there.
We'll get into that. Yeah, so it's like for me when they go to this sleepover thing, all the women seem very comfortable. Seems like a very environment that they're very used to. All the guys are just like look deer in headlights. They're like, I have no idea. Wait, women, you want to talk to me? Like what? What? Like most of these men are just like out of it. They have no idea what's going on.
And they basically tell them that they have to figure out their own sleeping arrangements in these tents. So there's kind of a whole like, negotiation, figuring it out kind of situation.
How many tents were there? There's 18 people.
I think it's
8 tenths? Someone.
know.
Yeah, I don't know.
There were like 4 people per tent.
yeah.
But there's not. There must have been like some extra tent or something where there's.
They never really showed us a shot of the whole backyard.
There was at least a shot with at least 4, but I don't know
Yeah.
if there was more. Cabanas.
I mean, this was
There must
definitely
have been
why.
I
five.
feel like tent is a loose term here. This was like not like a tent with like just a sleeping bag. There was
No.
like a bed in there.
Yeah,
like,
this is a
lights,
very
electricity.
fancy. But like
glamping.
you look at it and behind it is this giant house that I was like, it definitely doesn't look all that great. When I'm like, I could just sleep in that house. Like I don't want to sleep in the backyard.
Yeah.
Wear him down. Night one, wear him down. I mean, I think a big part of this whole thing was to see how they like figured out the tent sleeping arrangements.
Yes,
Because
which-
there was a very rewarding part where one man
Yeah.
gets chosen to come into a woman tent, and he is so happy.
which guy was it?
the
it was
astrophysicist.
yeah, it was the ultimate nerd,
The one who called his mom in the middle of.
Joshua.
Josh.
I believe
Yeah.
that was Joshua. Yeah, Joshua is the astrophysics. He also slept with all his clothes on.
He did.
did.
There's also he's in the cabana and he's so happy because he's just been called in. For some reason, a woman ties a bow around his head. This is strange. Then he's like lying next to this woman, and there is a very eerie shot of her talking, but then it's sort of like you can't really hear her voice anymore, and it sort of zooms in. His face is right over her breasts
Yeah.
in this shot on the camera. Not in reality. He is not that close to her, but his eyes flicker up and down.
And he is overjoyed.
The camera goes into slow-mo. It is unsettling.
It was another reason why I think the camera work on this show is great.
It's brilliant.
It's
It's very funny.
yeah. I don't think there's much to say else other than like all the guys were overjoyed as they were going to sleep.
Yeah.
They were like in the sense like this is amazing. Oh, I can't imagine. I can't believe it. And then like next day.
They also keep referring to it as sleeping with 9 beautiful women, but like not really.
The only one is, Joshua.
I know.
I feel like that's the only thing interesting that happened. Was like them in the hot tub and then Joshua being in the women's cabana. That was about it. Then are we at the skills test now? Did I forget something else?
No.
No.
Now we
The
can
skill
talk
test.
about
Now we can get into
now
it.
the notes are up to
I
date.
have the note. There's just nothing to note about the sleepover, so I didn't write it
Well,
down.
what about the duct tape on the belt? That was good.
Oh, that was a question. I wrote down 2 questions we should ask Dave.
Okay.
And that was one of them. When was the last time you had duct tape on your belt?
Well, see, here's one of the things where like I wonder if he's playing up being a geek. Cuz that's like
Because I feel like the
That's
geeks have
really-
watched the show before, right?
yeah, I feel
For
like
sure.
the geeks are smart and like they know that this is like who they need to be. So maybe he's like done that before in the world and he's like, "Oh, I got to do that when I'm on the Beauty and the Geek."
That's definitely the piece of this, which is like as you're watching, especially in the first hour or the whatever of it, you're just kind of wondering. At least I was like, how much they're kind of hamming it up,
Yeah.
and playing into it. I mean, I will say both on the female side and the male side for this, because like both sides are very extreme to the point that you're like, it's hard to believe that these are authentic, true to themselves 100%.
I
Like,
mean,
you
you're
gotta
on
at
a,
least be
you're on a
exaggerating a little
show.
Right.
But then there's definitely people where I'm like, yeah, you might be hamming up a little bit, but you definitely have no idea what you're doing.
Oh, sure. Like, I'm
So,
definitely not
like-
saying like people weren't nervous and all that, but like some of the like, like the duct tape thing, like I wonder, like I'm like, I look at that and I'm like, I feel like you just put that on and like so you can have a story and like a thing. But I
mean,
don't know. I
Dave
could be wrong.
seems like the most, like, other than the duct tape thing, seems like he has the most real reactions. He's like analytical, can speak his mind, give his opinions, like, and his feelings in like the correct manner. Whereas like a lot of these people are just like, just bumbling through everything. And like, I'm sure it took producers a very long time to get any of the like shots that they were looking for at all.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I did get from asking Dave questions about this is like, I was like, I don't know how I phrased it, but I was like, was this real? Like, how, like, was this like all set up, like whatever? And like, he says it's pretty real. Like, the way that this show is presented is like, sort of like what happened. So anyway, I don't know.
Just sort of what happened.
No, it is
or,
like
okay.
no,
It's like
the way
more or
he
less.
said it was like this is like basically like it like that is the show, like like it's not like it's not rigged, like whatever, these people are like this,
like they hired a
whatever.
bunch of actors or something.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
they're not like
Yeah.
producers are telling you, hey, go out there and make a fool of yourself.
right.
No, they're like, hey, go do that. And then they made a fool of themselves.
Yeah,
They're
it's
not
like,
like,
hey, it's like, hey,
Yeah.
it might be a good idea to get out there and sing a song. Maybe you're like, oh yeah, you think they'd like that? Yeah, probably. You should do that. And then it's just kind of.
Oh man, Harrison feels like he'd be way too good at this. You see how he was doing that over there? He's like, yeah.
He's like, so how much money is the price? How
So
much?
what would your skill be?
No, I'm
Oh,
thinking
man.
Harrison is in the producer.
producer.
It's just egging people on and be
yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh yeah, that's a great idea. Go
when are
for
we
that.
when are we gonna do the Who Put This On YouTube reality show?
It's gonna happen.
We got to do it. So the skill test. So they take these guys in. Each guy goes in separately and goes to talk to a psychologist or psychiatrist, and they have to do.
Unclear.
Doesn't matter. They have to do a couple tests. One of them was to draw your ideal woman.
A horrible test.
This is like, and apparently there's a bunch of colors. And one of the guys was like, they're like, why did you pick that color? One of the guys was like, black has the most contrast with white. Obviously, I'm going to choose black. Like, what kind of question is that? And it's just like, okay, guy.
She's also ready with some very hard cutting questions. Like as soon as someone drew a breast, she was immediately like, "Why'd you pick that size? Tell me about that."
And then there was like some guy just drew like eyes and a mouth. And you're like, okay,
And
all
she
right.
was like, "Are you done?" And he was like, "Yes."
I think that was Tony, wasn't it?
That was our boy Tony.
Yeah.
But it was like pretty, like it was fairly detailed, eyes and a mouth, and nothing else.
Nothing else. No hair. No perimeter around the face.
No body.
Nothing. Just eyes and a mouth.
I think that like, and like his opinion is like, she's a woman, it's fine. Like, it's not like, I think that's what he was trying to go for, but like, we didn't see any of that. We didn't see half the people's drawings. We only saw the people making a real fool of themselves while doing it.
Man, I am terrible at drawing. This would have gone so poorly. I'd be drawing stick
Some
figures.
I was
like,
Harrison's definitely got a stick figure action.
Some hair.
Ooh.
It's definitely just a big game of draw full, like on there.
Yeah.
It's like go, and you're like,
oh yeah.
And then our favorite segment, I think, of the whole show was they had to kiss a mannequin like the mannequin was
Whoa.
your grandmother, and then kiss a mannequin like it was your girlfriend. And like they really dug into one of the guys.
Well, first she just said approach the mannequin, and then when they did not kiss the mannequin, she said now kiss the mannequin.
but also, she specifically said, "Give it the most romantic kiss you've ever given."
Yeah.
And you're like, "What?"
What?
Okay, but before we go any, we gotta get into this. This was
Yes.
a very, I don't know how quite to describe it, but it was an odd pose and posture that this mannequin was in.
It was definitely a posture that's not like a welcoming and inviting grandma posture. It's just like it's like hunched over. The arms were like
it's, like,
inside.
leaning
It was
back.
leaning away.
It was
It was
leaning
like
away,
a-
like pulling away from a
like
kiss,
like a fashion mannequin. Like her hands are on her hips. She's like leaning away from you.
Also-
she also looks kind of mean.
yeah,
Unclear
and
if they-
very tall. I feel like too,
Super tall.
like 6'5" plus, like
Like
very
some
tall.
of these men like could not get to her lips.
Yeah, and it just felt like the mannequin was in a pose where she was trying to pull away from the kiss, and I feel like they're really just setting these dudes up to look real bad and creepy.
Oh, obviously.
It was definitely
sure.
intentional. I mean, like when the producers and stuff were testing like this challenge or whatever, they definitely understand how awkward it is.
Okay, number 2 on this. This is gross as hell.
Oh,
There's like
yeah.
9 dudes, and they all got to make out with this mannequin.
Unclear if they
Oh.
cleaned it.
Yeah, unclear
I mean,
if
they're
they
not
cleaned
going to
it.
show you the cleaning on the show.
Is this a normal
did they
psychiatrist
clean?
Is
test?
it the same
This can't
mannequin?
be
Is
normal.
it-
No, nothing about this is normal. This is so bizarre.
Are you saying you never, when your room, made out with a mannequin?
No.
Like, practice? It's not.
The most passionate kiss you've ever done.
What would you do if somebody asked you to give a mannequin the most passionate kiss?
In front of a psychologist or a psychiatrist or one of the two.
And on TV.
And on TV, and this is like,
Well,
There's
so
no
many-
chance
Actually,
you're doing
and
it.
this is also weird.
after 8
about-
other dudes have made out with this mannequin.
I know.
Weird.
What's also weird is that the psychologist is sitting literally like 1 foot away from the mannequin, like watching your mouth. It is so weird and close.
There's a great camera shot where the mannequin's like pushed into her and one of these guys makes out with it.
So one of the things was like they asked the guy to make out at like the most passionate kiss you've ever given because he wasn't kissing the mannequin. I feel like if you just gave it a decent kiss, it would have been fine, which we didn't see because this is just the let's make fun of these people segment.
Yeah.
Because they're so bad. This whole like skill test was like these people need lots of help, and they didn't like show everyone. They only showed people that did really bad. I don't think Dave was in any of these.
No, I don't think he was.
I don't think we see any of his skill tests. We have no idea how well he did.
I would have loved to see the chart of like who is the best.
Yeah, because these ratings are just made up.
Yeah.
Like nothing is real about these tests.
Well, the women's test, like there's real answers.
That
so
one's
like,
like a little more objective, but that one was also, and we'll get into it, but that was also designed to make fun of them in every way.
Oh, yeah, every- for
like,
sure.
It's not a real test.
Definitely. The other one was for the guys was the ink blots.
yeah, they did ink plots.
But then there was only one notable thing, which was one man sees the first one, and she's like, "What do you see?" And he's like, "A girl." And she pulls up the second one, 2 girls. And then she pulls up the third one, lips.
Yeah,
That was good.
was
I will say, I mean, we only saw like these for a very small amount of time, but they mostly didn't look like anything.
No,
yeah. Well, that's the point.
I don't know. I don't get the point of these tests. These are weird tests.
I don't think this is a legit test.
Definitely doesn't.
Nothing
seem-
about
It's
this.
definitely not. Then they go to the women testing. Do you want? Let me see.
We know
they
there
had to
was- yeah.
name as many countries as you can in alphabetical order, and then they start with this one woman that says Alabama.
Oh boy, and then follows it up with B, Boston. Oh boy.
And then somebody
Looking
said
for countries.
the Caribbeans.
Someone
yeah.
said Europe.
Yep.
Asia was in there.
was in the mix.
Asia.
So like this is definitely like get 9 people. You don't even need 9 people that are like blonde like airheads. You just get 9 people in a room and ask them to do this. You get similar dumb answers. Like it's not like you could sit here and I can't name A to Z in countries. Like that's
But you could name countries.
Good name.
yeah, I would
countries.
definitely name countries.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be naming states
Sure.
and cities. But like who knows what 8 other people would say. Like I'm sure
Yeah.
that like a general population like that's definitely what would happen.
Yeah. And the math question, they give them this math question.
Yeah.
I mean,
The
you
math
know,
question. Oh man, like they're like, so you're buying shoes. They're like, we got to make it relatable. I'm like, oh my god, here we go. And it's like you're buying 4 pairs of shoes that cost $475, but then the shoes are all 15% off. How much do the shoes cost? One girl's answer was 15% off. So I think that's about $15. Oh boy.
Like I guarantee you somebody in that like 9 did that fine. Like that's
Oh,
just,
yeah.
like but we didn't see it.
maybe.
Also, we need to talk about the guy who is giving this test.
Yes.
He was a little different. he sat so perfectly still and stared straight at all the women as they were answering.
With like a soft, cruel smile. And they would like give him an answer and he would say, okay. Another part of this test was, there was math, there was
I have it written
the
down.
countries, there was also, he would show them these like word riddles. And like,
Can somebody
What is it?
explain to
I
me
kinda
what
like
this
that
was?
this one, well, I like these puzzles. These puzzles are fun. It's one is the word cycle 3 times, and the solution is tricycle. But this is not an intelligence test. Like, what is this?
I was so confused when I was like, am I supposed to get that? Like, I don't understand.
If they
Well,
don't
you're-
show the one girl saying tricycle, like that was the first shot, and you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And then the other ones look significantly dumber because now it's like, oh, now that seems obvious. One
Yeah.
girl says like recycle because I guess it says cycle. Not really sure why she.
She was like, reduce,
if
reuse,
if she led with recycle, you'd be like, I don't know. I guess I don't know where this is going.
I
Well, this-
definitely missed the first part of that, so I had no idea. I still to this day had no idea what that was. He told me,
But like
'cause
the
I was
guy
writing
didn't
stuff
even
down.
like explain what they were supposed to do. He would like hold this thing up and he would say, "What does this mean?" Not like this is a puzzle, like whatever. He was like, "What does this mean?" And then he would do the soft, cruel smile, and the woman would be like,
Right, and you're just on the spot. The other one was the word
Reading test.
reading with slashes between each letter, and so one of the solutions was reading between the lines, which I'm like, oh, that's pretty clever. Like I knew it said reading with like a bunch of stuff, but one girl just straight stared at it for like however long
I
with
don't
no
know.
idea. But again, if you don't know what's going on, like I don't know how you're.
That
supposed to
seems
answer
like a very difficult that's like an IQ test that you're like, oh, like what
"It's
the
just
hell?
a riddle."
yeah.
I'm bad at riddles. I don't.
Yeah, it just
understand.
doesn't. None of these mean it. This doesn't mean anything.
The last thing they had to do was a reading test with like really difficult words.
Yeah.
It wasn't like
Extremely
It wasn't a
difficult.
sensical sentence either. It was just like, what is like? I can probably read that, but like, can I enunciate all those words? Probably not. Like
There was
I'd
like
look
a word
an
in there
idiot.
I did not know for sure.
Like it was just like weird and just like harder than like tests that you really would ever have to take. So it was just like a very like the other tests I get, the men like skill set, like okay, like you got to talk to people and like we're asking you really random questions, but they're sensical. But like some like, riddles, how was
I don't know
like
if draw
answering-
the perfect woman is a sensible question.
well, yes, from like
Or the make out with a mannequin. What
Like,
test
I
made
think-
sense?
Nothing about that made sense. Like what they like if they wanted to actually do this, they'd be like how would you ask a woman on a date? Like it would be like real questions or about like real situations, not like
You
some
know,
like
maybe
you know,
some social role play. Maybe
totally.
things that would make sense aside
Yeah.
from the 3 tests they did. Look at these random ink
anything
blots,
else.
make out with a mannequin, and then draw your perfect woman. Like, what is the scale of judgment here? Like, what's
all
going
right.
on?
Scored the best on the woman, and I'm like,
choose?
what is the metric?
fair point, guys. Fair point. You're right.
I want a YouTube takeaway of her like choosing the men of who's better and worse.
So, like, who was the best makeout person? You're like, well, I guess that guy.
You gotta ask the mannequin.
That means
Harrison,
he's socially
all-
capable, I guess.
No, Noah's not here, so somebody needs to take the mantle to tweet at this person and
man.
ask them about this esoteric question from like over a decade
What was the
ago.
judging criteria for?
Quick question.
Season 4.
Send a
12 years
screenshot.
ago.
Without Noah here, I don't have anyone asked to do
Okay,
that stuff.
so question about the format of the show. So
Yeah.
because again, I thought that this was teed up as a dating show without any prior knowledge. So and now that we know that it's a show about they're going to pair up in teams, and we'll get to that in a second. There was some mention, but it wasn't really explained. But it seems like what's going to happen is they were scored, and it's about their growth. So they're going to at some point be scored again. Is that sort of an assessment that's
That's kind
accurate?
of what I took away from it, but I'm not sure because everyone's like, all right, they're gonna get a baseline on your intelligence and your social whatever, and then we'll see how you grow. So that means that they're gonna have to draw that woman again and make out with that mannequin.
the question is like,
Every episode.
so it's all made up. Well, or like that part of it because the baseline is utter nonsense.
Yeah.
So
So
I
like,
think-
whatever the test is later,
That's why,
Like, unless it's-
that's why it has to be 1-to-1 test.
There's no way it's a 1-to-1 test. There's nothing very empirical about how they're doing the studies here. This
Also-
is a social experiment on reality TV. It means nothing.
Well, also isn't the show just like them doing like some sort of challenge and then like eventually just getting kicked off because they didn't do the challenge well enough and
Well,
has nothing to do with
Ooh,
like
that's interesting. Or is it
actually-
both?
So what I think happens from my research, what I think the format of the actual episodes of the show, now that they're like paired up and like they're ready to roll, I think what happens is every week there's a challenge for the beauties and a separate challenge for the geeks where they have to do something of the other skill set. So like the goal is like if James and I are paired up, like we're supposed to help each other like prepare for our thing because we're supposed to be our own like knowledge domain experts, and then like that's sort of how you like grow and show your progress, because you're like, if you're a geek, you're like, I don't know, you're like dressing someone, or I don't know,
Getting a haircut.
like getting whatever, going on a date or like doing something like social and doing it well. And if you're a beauty, you're like, I don't know, like participating in Model UN or something.
But like the winner of this is not determined by, hey, let's meet that psychologist again and do this fucking weird test.
There's
I
no
hope it
way.
is.
There's no way that's
Like,
true.
the person that improved the most, you win. Like that's not how the show's gonna end.
No, I don't think so. I think this was a gag. I think this was a gag, and it was sort of like a challenge so they could like pick two people to do this whole matching thing. But I cannot imagine that at the end of the show, the mannequin is back on a podium.
It's time for the final test.
The final makeout.
Oh man, I mean, so we really need to know the elimination mechanic of this show. Like that's the big thing that
What
we're
are the
missing.
stakes?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's the big thing that we're missing at this point, because it could be like a Tool Academy style elimination where you have some kind of expert on whether or not they've gotten better, and if you've made the least progress, then you just kind of get cut. Like, because they could have it like that. It could be some voting. There
Or
could
it
be
could work-
challenges.
It could work like Canada's Worst Driver, where the person that gets the best is like, "Well, you passed. You're out of here." You've
Yeah.
been
Definitely
Oh,
promoted.
not
you
that.
grew. Good.
Definitely not
No.
that.
It definitely doesn't
the
seem like
anti.
that.
The one person in the show made it seem like, oh, some people, the winners of like competition put people in like a losers bracket, and then those losers like
Compete against each
each other to get, and the loser gets kicked
That's
off.
what I got from that.
That's what it
too.
seems like what's going to happen. Like there's like one competition determines like the winners, and then they send people to the losers challenge.
So it's the challenge. Okay, I get it.
yeah. Yeah, but the challenge changes up every freaking season.
Well,
so who knows?
Maybe the winners bracket is a challenge about like the other person's, and the losers bracket challenge is about like if you're a geek, you do something geeky, and you have to out geek the other person.
Ooh,
Oh,
maybe.
I like that.
That would be pretty good.
I don't know.
Well,
Don't look at
don't
me.
worry, everyone. I will definitely be watching more episodes of this, and I can report back.
All right, so we find out twist. They like pulled Jay and Joshua up, and they're like, "Twist, you didn't win. You had the lowest score. Twist, you still won because
Because you have the most room to grow.
and you get to pick the teams, which is the craziest thing I've ever heard.
Huge advantage.
Huge, like it's nuts that like the producers aren't the ones picking these teams.
Which I think leads to is the episode was playing. Some of us were theorizing on whether or not any of these people were lowballing their skill tests to try and get some favorable ranking.
I don't know, because you don't know if you want to be low or high.
I know, but like since they framed it as saying the baseline, you want your baseline to be as low as possible so you can grow as much as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're
so-
setting a baseline on some kind of competition show, you definitely agree. You want to sandbag a
So
little
then
bit.
you should have probably made out that mannequin like super hard, like and poorly, which no one really
Like
did.
you're just like knock the mannequin over.
You're just like licking the mannequin's nose.
Just some weird shit you would be doing to that mannequin.
I don't know that I want to support the show.
I don't like that.
So then they get like an hour where they interview all like the guys, the rest of the guys and girls to be like, who do you want to be with? And like, they get to pick, and then no one gets to be with whoever they wanted.
This
Yeah.
is definitely where we see the astrophysicist's plan coming into motion. Is like he basically acts like he's okay. Who do you want to be with? And they're going to take it all into consideration. They just end up figuring out who they shouldn't pair everybody with. So you put him with somebody you hate.
Yeah, which I don't know if they like had enough readings to figure out who like some of the couples definitely like Dave did not work out great, but you don't know with the other people.
Well,
to a
so like
point.
in this hour, like everybody approached the couple that was like gonna pair them all up, and like after the pairing, so many people were unhappy that I can't believe that these people didn't voice their like preferences and like a little better. Like I think it was intentional.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that there's only one person who got who they asked for, and that was the girl that got the guy with the bow tie. I'm pretty sure that was the only one that was the actual request.
So we
one.
go through the people. So Jay and Joshua picked themselves to be couple, which is weird. They didn't
did
seem
not
like
seem like they liked
did
each
not
other.
seem like a great couple pairing.
Surprising.
But like at
Yeah.
that point, it's like, okay, Joshua, who do you want to be with? And then there's some sort of weird dynamic there that if Joshua wanted to be with somebody else, I think that would have been weird in general too. So like, I don't know. It seems like they were destined to be paired together because they
Yeah.
had this
Especially
power.
they've been plotting together for this hour, so they both
Yeah.
know the plan. So like if they change teams, now there's four people know the plan, so it's a problem.
Yeah, I know, but I think that you do split up though because you both know the plan, and then at least you have a 2-team alliance going. I mean,
That's true.
That's
Good
true.
strategy.
Oh,
Strong
Alliances
strategy.
level.
could matter because we don't know anything.
Definitely don't know shit.
Then
Is
we got
there- what's that American Idol thing? Not the Idol. Shit. What's the
Survivor.
Survivor with the stone or something you have to
Yes.
find in the woods. The thing. You have to find the idol.
have you ever seen
Immunity.
Survivor, James?
Like once. I don't know.
Immunity.
what
What's
is
the thing they
stone?
find? It's usually in like a tree. I don't know.
Immunity idol.
Immunity
Yeah,
idol.
the idol. See, I said the
Yeah.
idol, and you all looked at me like I was an insane person.
Well, I think
it
you-
was an idol.
Oh, all right. So we got
There's
Amanda
no idol.
and Tony are paired off. Then we got Jasmine and Dave. Which,
Dave is furious. There are a lot of parts during this matchup ceremony where it would be like a testimonial of someone being like, I really want to be with this person. And then you'd see that person taken away from them. And in this case, it was Dave being like, I really just can't be with Jasmine. And then Jasmine comes up and it's Dave and he is so upset. And the host is like, how do you guys feel or something? And Jasmine's like, it'll be fun. And Dave goes, it'll be interesting.
it was
Another great camera work shot.
That was
Zoom
good.
into the face.
Also, the whole time where he was standing on the balcony, every time it panned across his face, he just looked upset the entire time.
You could tell. I think it was Will that said like the gears are turning or something. You could tell he's thinking. He's
So,
planning.
Then we got Aaron and Jesse, Natalie and John, Jen and William, Rebecca and Will, Holly and Josh, and Katie and Luke. And that's all the couples. And we'll have to get
And
And
Oh yeah. Oh my
And-
god.
and what's behind the door, Will?
what could be behind the door?
So during the episode, they were like, later in the night, you'll find out what's behind this door. We're like, what the? Who cares? Well, there's no door. Like, you're not showing a door. No one has any idea. No
never
one cares.
before seen.
We
No
thought
one cares what behind the door is.
we thought there was no way that whatever was behind the door could live up to the hype that they were building.
But
Must be one of the best slow reveals of reality TV show like all time.
Yeah.
Maybe.
it was a very well. It was just
the
because we
build-up
all were
was
like
amazing.
this. We were like, we're not gonna care about this. Who cares? Whatever. And then Will.
Out walks a beauty, a man. The beauty is the man, and a geek, a woman, and they are paired up and ready to go into this show.
You know, this was also some good camera work.
The
First,
tease.
first you
just
see their
starting.
feet.
Oh yeah, just the feet.
She's
The
wearing
slow
like
ride.
Slow
socks
pan.
and clogs.
Definitely
It was
some kind of clogs.
really weird. Socks and clogs. He's
Some
wearing
kinda
some kind of
boot.
cool guy shoe.
But he had
Some kind of boot and jeans.
like torn off sleeves on his shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get to the sleeves.
Sorry.
They
we
walk-
gotta rise up.
Sorry, too quick.
James really wants to talk about this.
We're painting a word picture of this beauty and geek.
And then like so she's wearing like I don't know stockings of some sort.
Yeah, and like a
With the
really
clogs.
long skirt.
Really long gray, plain gray, boring kind of colored skirt. Slow rise. We're only at the
She didn't
knees
look-
right now, guys.
We're at the knees. We're
We
at
still
the
have
knees.
only seen the other guy's boots and jeans.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's true.
That's all we've got so
That's
far.
all we've got to go on. And then it cuts to commercial. And then it
And then
comes
it's
back. And we're back at the knees and we're rising. Then we get the shirt. It's some kind of like plaid flannel kind of thing. I don't know. It's
On
kind of
the
a weird
guy?
shirt. Like it could like it be a button down. It might kind of look like Harrison's current shirt.
That could be it.
A little
But
bit.
with a
But
notable difference.
We'll come to that.
only at the
and
midsection.
we're at the midsection now, so it's sort of it turns into a dress on the girl.
No, I think she's wearing like a cardigan on top over this like long skirt.
Like a very plain gray,
very plain.
Yeah.
like non-vibrant kind of vibe here.
Yeah.
But then they zoom out, and from the back, this dude's got no sleeves on, and it's not just like a no. It's like a cut-off shirt.
Yeah.
he has
Yeah.
like cut this
Like
off.
he
It is jagged.
ripped them off
Yeah.
after the gym. And
He's
you could
definitely
also
a very muscular gentleman.
He definitely seems like he's a male stripper.
Absolutely.
He's
Right.
at Chippendales.
That's a great description.
Yeah.
I think he's like for the bachelorette party, that guy's coming in and popping out of a cake and dancing.
and ripping
was
off
it-
his sleeve.
Did he
And
have a
ripping off
cowboy
the
hat on,
sleeves.
or was that a later shot where he put the cowboy hat on and was shirtless?
I think that's later.
Later.
That's
Okay,
later.
so this shot he didn't have the cowboy hat, but there's a cowboy hat coming.
Later.
And he's got a really weird, strange facial expression going on.
His eyes are so wide and surprised.
Always surprised.
All the
Everything
time.
around him is so surprising.
You can see like the whites all the way around all the time.
And I think he's always flexing.
Definitely.
And I don't know, she didn't seem super memorable by comparison to this insane looking dude.
Because like this guy walks out and all of us were going, no sleeves.
She didn't seem very happy either with the way
No.
things turned out.
Definitely not.
We also
She
see
definitely
a
had glasses.
Scene, she had glasses and just
sort
sort of
of,
like normal hair, very
Right,
boring.
like not did up hair or nothing. Yeah.
We see
there
a
you go.
scene from the
I mean-
future in the long flashback where she's talking to him, I think, and she's like, the whole house is against us. And that was very exciting.
I don't think she looked particularly bad, but she didn't look particularly good. It was very just like meh.
She's a lady nerd. A
Yeah.
geek, I'm sorry, a geek. Is there a
Get it
difference
right.
between a nerd and a geek?
I'm sure, depending on what part of the internet you're from, there's probably a difference.
What the internet you're from?
What about
part
your
is
what
Noah
about
from?
your part?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't care.
Is there like a section that you would classify Noah in, our in-house
Yeah,
internet corner?
Yeah, he's from Wikipedia.
So yes, there would be a difference. I'm sure Wikipedia has a different definition for each. Yeah, and that's the show. I mean, they go over like this
good.
next time on, which was bananas long. It was so long. It was like a 3-minute song with all these like, weird scenes. And you're like, I don't think it was very good.
Well, you
Didn't
learn a
I?
lot. It was it's kind of like on The Bachelor. I think they do this on The Bachelor, where they show you really everything that's going to happen over the season. You really find out who's going to be there, who's not. But it
It's
was
the whole like this season segment,
Yeah.
right? Like, which I don't tend to like those because if I want to watch the show,
yeah.
you all know how I feel about spoilers. So this is just the spoilers section of the own show.
This was good though, as a show that I don't know the format of, don't really understand what's going to happen. I really sort of appreciated this because I think we got a good taste of like maybe what the actual show is going to be like now that the intro is done.
Yeah.
And I found it tantalizing. Very exciting. I also, because I didn't understand the format, I don't even know what the spoilers would be, except for like who's there and who's not there. And there's so many people that I have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one thing that I guess we'll get into is like I don't like when there's so many people on these shows. Like there's so many people. 18 people you introduce, and then you have a whole hour you don't even intro them. I'm just like, you have a 2-hour show, you have 18 people to introduce. You gotta do like there's too many people.
It's hard to learn about them.
I don't know what it is. Like these competition shows start with so many people that I just get so bogged down in who people are.
But
Yeah,
I
like,
do
I
like.
don't get
I'd rather.
invested.
I'd rather have some activities right away. I'm glad there were some challenges, and it wasn't like a whole episode of meeting the people and pairing off. Like I'm glad there was a little content in here, a little juice, a little mannequin.
I feel like the best ones we've seen do like a show, like really do it like the similar thing, but they really focus on like half the people. And then the next episode, they focus on the other half of the people. So like there's like enough, you get enough time to get to know 9 people versus get enough time to know 18 people. There's just like the amount of time you need is too much.
It's a lot.
So, anyone have another minutia they want to talk about before we get into ratings?
We didn't talk about axillary region.
Oh, I did write that
true.
down.
Is there any other big quotes we missed off the list there?
Oh, let
We
me
didn't talk about the one, which I think we resonated. So one geek describes women as analog circuits. They're just like them.
That's the MIT guy.
Oh, yeah.
That was a good one.
That was the other. I had the two notes that we didn't get to were women are analog circuits and Annabeth's auxiliary region.
Yeah, this guy says he's getting nervous in the auxiliary region. He's sweating a lot there. That's the armpits.
And that's our boy Tony.
That's Tony, who loves the bow tie.
Like, I don't even know. Like, you say Tony, and he's the Asian one, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Bow tie.
I just,
He's the only
There's so
Asian on the
many
show with a
people.
bow tie.
thanks, James.
How do you not remember that guy? I'm just saying.
He was in the show for like 2 minutes. He's like barely in the show.
But the women are digging him.
They love him.
He's crushing it. Again, if this was a dating show, he'd be doing very well.
Oh, yeah. It's a secret dating show underneath.
Including Annabeth.
Including Annabeth?
You're digging Tony.
I'm totally digging Tony.
Yeah.
Did you see him tie that bow tie?
Barely. It was like a 10-second segment.
Yeah, they cut to him finishing it. They didn't show any of it.
That's true.
So really no, but like kind of.
Still.
So he's for his talent. I thought he said he was going to teach them to do a bow tie, but then he just tied his own bow tie. Do you think those women
Well,
now
he
know
was-
how
It
to
was
them.
it was a demo.
just a demo?
Yeah,
demo of
I mean,
how to
which
tie a
worked
bow tie.
out better than the guy who was juggling, and then a woman was like, Can you teach me?" And he was like, "Now." And then he tried, and he
It
couldn't.
did not work.
He was a little hesitant about coming into contact, I'd say.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Was that the $8,000 investment?
I don't know. It's hard to tell all those breasts apart.
So, Will, the rating system, you need
Rating
the primer here, is that we do a stack ranking system. So, you would go and rate reality shows in 3 different buckets: the top third, the middle third, or the bottom third. So, if this is like the best reality show you've ever seen, or like really good, it'd be the top third. And if it's like the worst reality show you've ever seen, it's like the bottom third. So, you would stack rank them in like whatever bucket you think they should be in.
All right.
And then some people
Interesting.
go to the next step and do 9 buckets, and that's just banana. That's just banana.
3
time.
buckets.
I usually do 3 buckets, and I'll start out. I think this is a top third show. I think the producers do a really good job of like bringing out the interesting things, talk about these people, and the camera work is amazing. I love it. I think the people are interesting, and like it's easy to like be in the shoes of these people. They feel like real people. They don't feel like caricatures or social media influencer wannabes. But there are some negatives. I think that the first hour was pointless. I don't like that hour. It's really hard to watch, and I don't understand what's supposed to get out of it. And then there's too many people. So like, and we didn't figure out what the actual format of the show is. So like, really, we needed to watch episode 1 and episode 2 to get a better idea of what the whole show was. But I think that there was enough production that I liked that I think it's in the top third, and I would definitely be interested in watching episode 2, especially since I may or may not know what happens throughout the season. So, or at least who may or may not win this episode, this season. So,
Spoilers.
Harrison, what do you got for me?
This is definitely a top third show for me. I mean, the personalities are great. I was a little bit worried at the start of the show that they're going to be making fun of these people too much, and it was going to kind of be a little bit more mean spirited. But it doesn't seem like it's really going in that direction as much. I mean, like they're definitely going to be poking fun at these people, but I don't know. So yeah, I mean, top third show. I'm interested to see where it goes. I met David at a board game night, so I'm pretty excited to see how this goes. You know.
All right, Annabeth, what do you got?
It's obviously a top. This is a top show for sure. It's great. This is also like the era of reality TV before it gets super influency and weird. So like that's a big pro. I love David. I was worried it was going to be too like sort of heteronormative and sexist, having like the beauties and the geeks, like, you know, the guys and the girls, whatever. But it's okay. I can deal with it. And also, like, I don't think it's too mean. It definitely makes fun of them a lot, but it doesn't seem like it's mean. So, great show.
James, what do you got for us?
Yeah, I tend to agree with most of the things folks are saying. I do think it pushes the line a little bit on the meanness, but it's definitely not mean. But it comes like kind of close at some times where it's definitely like it's jabbing, it's taking some jabs. But great production overall. I think for me, I'm going to throw it in the top, and I'll throw it in middle of the top, with the only caveat being. It depends on what the format is of like how the eliminations and all that kind of stuff goes. Of like, I could see there being a drop off if it's kind of, you know, if that doesn't go great. But like so far, based on what I've seen, yeah, middle of the top. Curious to watch another episode.
All right, Will, do you understand how the ratings
It's
system
very
works?
complicated.
Got it.
What is your rating here?
I'd give it a top third, obviously. I'm a little biased because of David, of course. But the camera work and like the editing and everything seemed really good. A little bit sad about how like they didn't really introduce how the show works at all. So, you know, looking forward to that later. But like the pairings and everything, I'm really excited to see the rest of the show.
Thank you. So Max watched the show with us. He had flew in, I think, today, so he was a little tired. He said it was a middle third show.
Ooh.
Top of the middle, ruining the unanimous top third.
Did he give any justification for the rating?
He said episode 1 is fun, but I don't see it having legs.
There you go.
There you go.
Is
Keeping it from getting that unanimous. It's a
know
tough
what?
one to get. It's a tough thing.
I think Max is tired. He had a big journey today.
He's jet lagged.
He's jet lagged. I just don't know if he could really appreciate the beauty of the geek.
Annabeth, you really need to teach him a lesson, maybe. He needs
Whoa. I'll sit him down, tape him to the couch, and put it on again.
Some of David's duct
What's
tape.
your rating now?
Obviously, this has to be the next, podcast.
Obviously. Max, don't worry.
I would say this show does seem more enjoyable and fun to watch with a group. It doesn't seem like the kind of show like that I could really get into just kind of by myself.
Yeah.
Definitely seems like more of a social show.
Yeah.
All right, so we've been going long, so I think we're not going to do any updates this week. So you can find us on Twitter at whowiththeson. You can find us on facebook.com/whowiththeson. You can email us questions and suggestions at whowiththeson@gmail.com. You can see you next time.
Beauty and the
Geek.